What's the YouTube? Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to be bringing you an update for one of my favourite Dracotail variants. Today is an update for Dracotail Regenesis. Now, I actually really do like Regenesis. It's been one of my favourite art types that have come out since the previous set, and it's just been a really kind of cool way to develop. Now, unfortunately, the new card in Doom, or Dude, is not that great to add. Like, something you don't need to add. I've kind of adapted this list, kind of modernized it a little bit more to how I've kind of learned to play the Dracotails in my particular way, and I do think there's some interesting interactions. One of the most important interactions that you'll need to know is that Femena is 2500 defense, so that is a card you can reveal in the hand, and then your Arfulion is the one that has 2500 defense on the field, so it kind of helps you on both sides of your Regenesis monsters. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to take you through the entire main deck, extra deck, and even the side deck, so you have an idea of what the entire list will look like. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Diving headfirst into the Dracotail monsters, this is going to be a pretty standard lineup for them themselves. 3 Femena. So this is your hand trap of choice for the Dracotail elements. This is going to allow you to fuse, utilizing your hand or field as material. Now, when we do get the brand new Dracotail monster in Doom as well, you can add that into the list. I'm not too sure what I would take out as of yet. It's a kind of really cool grind card, but it's one of the ones that you're probably going to want to send from the deck to the grave more than anything, and that's when you'll get utility to then recycle it around. I don't think that it's not really a starter, so it's not really replacing the Lucias. It's not a hand trap, so it's not really replacing the Femena. Maybe you could cut one Moodaloo for one copy of it, but that is entirely up to you. Speaking of which, we are going with 3 Lucias. This is your ideal starter for the entire deck. Keep in mind that Regenesis don't need to use a normal summon whatsoever, so when a card like Lucias can turn itself into or search you out the piece that you'll need to access your Regenesis monsters in the form of the Femena, that's kind of where it's going to be even more important. Now, I did look at playing something like a Cartasia. If you do want to play Cartasia in the deck, I would probably advise reducing the Moodaloo, and the only reason that I would suggest that is for the pure fact that reducing the Moodaloo opens up the door to have a more generic fusion monster option, but then I normally feel that Moodaloo can be another normal summon for you that is going to be just as good, as it will very easily get you into your Arfulion, while also being able to trigger its own grave effect to then non-target negate one of your opponent's monsters, which is really useful. Then got the 1 Pan and the 1 Urgula. I know that in other versions that you can play multiples of these cards. Like, if this was 100 attack more and this was 200 attack less, like, just swap them around. Like, that would have been insane. It would have had even more synergy with the Regenesis, because then, of course, that starts to be the attack stat requirements for the reveals that you're going to need. I am quite happy with 1 and 1. I understand that the reason you play multiples of these is so that what you're trying to do is during your opponent's turn, when you open up Femena, you fuse with Femena and you're trying to look for a Pan to then destroy a monster on the field or an Urgula to destroy a spell or trap. The one added benefit of being able to play the Regenesis is if you fuse during your opponent's turn using your Regenesis monsters, they're going to come back from the grave to your hand during the end phase. So it's one of the cards where usually what you do when you make your Arfulion is you could usually use 2 monsters that you've used in your hand to target 2 cards in your graveyard and add them back. In this scenario, you're going to be able to target 1 being the Femena to add back, but then you don't need to add back the Regenesis. You can leave the Regenesis in the graveyard, meaning that you have a free target to either return one of your opponent's monsters from the grave to the hand or the field to the hand, which then means that your Regenesis is going to come back anyway, so you're always regaining that resource consistently, which is really important. Speaking of the Regenesis, we are on 3 Regenesis Archfiend. So this is your ideal starter for the Regenesis side. Being able to reveal a monster with 2500 attack in the hand, so that's when you're going to be able to utilize revealing another Regenesis, or of course reveal the Femena, or summon it down, and then utilize this effect to grab you a Regenesis card. More times than not, you're probably going to be going for your Regenesis Sage, as this will set you up with an Omni Negate. Now, this is the one added benefit in comparison to the Magistus version I've shown you previously, is the Magistus give you that Monster Negate, which is still really helpful and really good, but the Sage gives you that Omni Negate, which means it can deal with Nibiru, it can also deal with any kind of spell your opponent might want to throw at you during their turn as well. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility. Then the other Regenesis card that I've now put back into the deck is 1 Regenesis Lord. Now, this is something that I wanted to trial out and test as to whether I wanted it still in the main deck. What I love about it in this particular version is Arfulion can loop it back. So there are times when your opponent gets rid of it and you can't really do a lot with it. Another card that I would want to consider to add back into the deck that I'm not too sure on as of yet is the Regenesis Birth. I could quite happily put this to a 41 card list, but I kind of want to make this build to be as aggressive as possible. And what I mean by that is if I don't fear Nibiru or any kind of big interaction with my opponent, I'm going to go Regenesis Archfiend, grab me Lord summon itself down. That's my way to out towers, that's my way to out weaker monsters or even monsters that are still quite strong. Being able to go Regenesis Lord with piercing damage and just a 5k absolute powerhouse can be incredibly powerful. So it's something that I want to test out. In my previous version, I believe I was on the Regenesis Birth, and you kind of bounce back and forth for it. One Regenesis card that I highly advise you do not play is the Regenesis Code. Now, as cool as Regenesis Code is, and the only benefit of something like that would be that if you Fey Mana during your opponent's turn, during turn 0, and then you Regenesis Code during your draw phase, it allows you to play around draw, it gives you access to your Regenesis, but then straight away your Rahu Dracotail, your Ketu Dracotail, your Fey Mana are all turned off until the end of your opponent's next turn. So to me, it's a card you shouldn't really be playing in a hybrid like this, and it's not really worth it in my opinion. For the other Regenesis cards, 1 Dragon and 1 Warrior. I can't wait for the Mega Teams 2026 already because I really hope that he's going to get an upgrade, or they just get an upgrade in an OTS. I'll take it. Then we've got 2 Regenesis. Now, again, this was one that I took out for Lord, and the reason I did something like that was because even with Lord is still a monster. One thing that I had when I previously played this particular list was that I was opening up times where I was seeing too many spells and not enough monsters. When you're trying to fuse during turn 0 of your opponent's turn, you need to see Fey Mana plus 2 monsters. So in this particular list, because I am, preview, still playing Super Poly, because I think it's an incredibly great board breaker or a field breaker card right now, this format, you still need to be able to minimize the amount of additional spells you're adding to it. In my previous build, you're playing 3 Ketu, 3 Rahu, plus the 1 of each of the track card, and then 3 Super Poly. So in this version, I'm adding 2 more spells to it, which kind of increases that opportunity or that chance to clog a little bit on spells more than monsters. I still think it's really, really important because a lot of time the opponent will forget that this actually has a banish from the graveyard effect to get you resource back. But more times than not, you're ideally just utilizing this to become either a Sage, a Dragon, a Warrior, or a Lord when you already have your cards set up ready to go, or even an Archfiend. Then for the hand traps of choice, we've got 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Molchomi Fualos, and 3 Perulia. So I did in my previous version, again, the Magistus version, that's when you open up a lot of space because the Regenesis engine itself is like 9 cards. So those 9 cards that I've taken out were the 4 K9 cards plus 3 Cartasia, so that's 7 already. And then you had 2 more flex spots, which would have become like other additional support cards. I think I might even have them. No, I don't think I have them to one side. But the idea is that you just have that increased consistency. I still feel that these are the great cards because you still use them as fusion material if you need to. You could arguably cut Perulia down to 2 if you wanted to flex open some spots for something else. I still feel that the K9s are the most aggressive option because you will get hand trapped. And I feel that it's an engine you could very easily side in because against this deck right now, you do try to do a decent amount of searching in comparison to other variants. What I mean by that is Regenesis searches. If they draw you after Regenesis, your Archfiend's not getting you anywhere. If you Archfiend, it means your Lucias isn't getting you anywhere. If you Lucias, it means your Archfiend's not getting you anywhere. So there's ways that they can kind of bookend you with Draw and Lockbird, so that's something you need to be a little bit careful of. And that's where I feel that if you do have K9s, that just allows you to push further through for it. Another added benefit for the K9s as well is technically you can go into an XZ that has 2500 attack or defense. The only issue with that is that they are very far and few between. I feel that there is only 2 to my knowledge. I think one of them is a Volcanosaurus, and I can't remember the exact other one off the top of my head of what it is. I think one of them is actually Valon. But they kind of give you a little bit more of a bridge, but I don't feel that you need to lean into them if you don't want to. Then for the spells, 3 Ketu, 3 Rahu, pretty standard on that one, and then 3 Super Poly. I just still feel that this is one of the best breakers of the format, especially with a deck like this. Not only can it help you push your plays a little bit with certain targets in the extra deck, but it also helps you break your opponent's field. It also helps you kind of give them no response, which I think is what's the most important thing about this card, is giving your opponent no response is really, really important because more times than not, when you're playing other breakers, your opponent could flip a trap and then target and negate, or they could utilize a monster effect and then dodge cards or move cards around. And with Super Poly, you're basically not giving them that option. And when you're looking at certain matchups, you're able to set yourself up with targeted protection in the form of the Mud Dragon. You're able to set yourself up with the possibility of an additional draw with Garura. You also have ways to break just the unknown fields. And what I mean by that is if your opponent puts an extra deck monster on the field, you can still break it with the Magistus Chorozo. Now you can lean into this a little bit more, but in the mirror match, you're very easily going to be able to go into your Sicturion Dragon. You can also go into another option that I'm currently testing out, whether I want to keep it or not, is whether you want to play the Mysterion, the Dragon Crown. You also have the ability to work your way into Mud Dragon Garura and kind of work it from there. The final 2 cards in this deck were cards that I'll always see in my opening hand is Horn and Flame. Both incredibly important, which is why you only need to play one of it. I feel that the new trap card that we're going to get in Doom isn't an absolute necessity. It's one of the ones where, yeah, it's kind of a cool trap card to utilize, but it's not something you have to utilize, and I feel you'll be better off not using it than forcing it in. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I've got 2 Arfulions. I would probably advise you could very easily play 3. I only own 2 Starlight, which is why I'm like, do I want to play a 3rd Ultra? I know it's a terrible excuse, but there are a couple of flex cards that I'll show you later on that you can tag out for the 3rd. 2 Gulamel. I know people do play like 3 Arfulion and 1 Gulamel. That's absolutely fine. I do like the option of playing 2 Gulamel because you can easily recycle them. And I feel that playing 2 can be quite useful because if your opponent banishes 1 face down or gets rid of it, it can make it a little bit awkward. Then, of course, we've got the 1 Centurion Dragon, and then for our 3 Super Body targets, the Chorozo, the Mud Dragon, and Garura. Now, you can lean into Super Body a little bit more. You can go for like stuff like Starving Venom. You can go for Dracotail. It really is entirely up to the environment you're going to. Then the XZs that I'm playing in this one, I've got the Sky Crisis Typhon. You don't have to play this, but again, I just feel that it's one of the ones that if your opponent is presenting a field that, you know, could really be outed by a Typhon, it could be very, very useful. It's obviously a little bit more effective in a Canine variant because you could just go, cool, Lupus, go into a Typhon, and that can make it very awkward, but you have a bit of flex if you wanted to take this out. The other ones I'm playing is the 1 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord and the 1 Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. Now, the reason for this is your Arfulion is a level 8. Your Archfiend is a level 8. So if you want to, once they've both utilised their effects, they're not really useful keeping them on the field. So you could just overlay them and give yourself a Hope Harbinger for attack redirection or a spell negate, or you go into the Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, and then that will give you the ability for a monster negate. The Photon Lord is probably more flexible than the Hope Harbinger, but it gives you that ability to do either or. For the Link monsters, I'm on the 1 Spirit Reviser Blue to then work my way into the Hieratic Seals. So just going back to the good old-fashioned Hieratic Seals play, being able to get Moolaloot off of the back of this can then set you up with a fusion play as well if you want to. So you're adding Feymena, you're adding a non-target return, you're then adding a Moolaloot from the deck to the field, and when we get to the side deck, you'll also see that we're playing Bystials, which can be quite useful for you. The last 2 cards I've got is the 1 Nightmare Phoenix. This is just one of these options that I kind of liked it, again, with a bit of flex spot to say, I want to be able to out like any random floodgate that my opponent might get access to. Like if my opponent does get access to something like Anti-Spell, I can be able to out it. There are ways that Feymena working into an Arfulion will only target Grave and monsters, so you can't really out floodgates. And I feel that being able to play something like Nightmare Phoenix can be a bit of a difference for something like that. And the last card, of course, will be an SP Little Knight as another way to out floodgates. But I do also like the idea that once I can go into SP Little Knight, bring this back to the field, and then make a Nightmare Phoenix and go Nightmare Phoenix, discard, destroy a card, draw a card. So there are ways to help you utilize it, but it is entirely flexible and up to you. Moving on to the extra deck, just so you have everything you need. So with the extra deck of a deck like this, you want to go as many monsters as you feel comfortable with. I've gone with full 15, but I'll talk you through some of them because some of them have added benefits. So we're going with 2 Nibiru. This is completely optional on you. You can go for 3 if you want to. I just feel that Nibiru could be very, very effective this format, especially if your opponent either goes and runs the risk of saying, well, you either have it or you don't, or they go, just don't respect it, then they're going to get hit with it. I've got 3 Bystials, 1 Magnamut, 1 Druid Swarm, and 1 Bulldrake. Now, the added benefit of these is that they all have 2,500 attacks. That's another reveal or another monster on the field that can then get you access to your Regenesis monsters. The other benefit for something like this is, yes, I can target Yummies, which is quite useful. Mitsurugi is not really much making a comeback, but it's still always around, and something like a Bystial can be quite useful for you. It could be semi-okay in the mirror match, but, you know, it's more so than anything just Bystials being generally fairly good this format. If they were amazing, they'll be in the main deck, but they're not amazing. They're kind of like one of the ones where you side them in when you need them, and then having the added benefit of being able to reveal them as a response or like a requirement for your Regenesis is also going to be quite useful. 3 Drow Lockbird, I feel that Drow Lockbird is on the cusp, and what I mean by that is 1 minute, incredible. Next minute, meh, and then the minute after that, no one plays it. So this one is your flex option for go for Artifact Lancers, in my opinion. The other cards you can also flex for Artifact Lancer. I'll show you the last 4 cards in a second. But I feel that having access to Drow Lockbird can still be quite useful in certain matchups. I'm currently playing 3 Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. I actually really like this card right now. It's a way to fix your hand, which can be quite useful. It's also really good to give you targeted protection. It helps you in the Yummy matchup. It can sometimes help you in this matchup. It can definitely help you in a Blue Eyes matchup sometimes as well. So I feel it's really nice to kind of refresh your hand while also being a dragon that can be utilized as fusion material. The last 4 cards I'm playing is 2 Retaliating Sea and 2 Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Now, you could do one or the other. You could either take out 2 Retaliating Sea and go for a 3rd Bell and a 3rd Nibiru, or vice versa. The Retaliating Sea is more so in this build for my local environment does utilize Dracotail quite a bit more. Like I think in my last locals there was Dragonmaids, there was Dragonmaid Dracotail, there was Dracotail something else. I can't remember what the hybrid was on that one. But it was Dracotails. I think it might have been with Regenesis. And then there was obviously Dracotail Magistus. So there's a lot of ways where I can see Retaliating Sea putting in a bit of work, but if your environment does not have any effect against Retaliating Sea whatsoever, you either take these out, bump up Nibiru, bump up Bell, or you take these out, put 3 Artifact Lancers in, and then swap out a Bell or a Nibiru for a Bell or Nibiru, so you're kind of like maxing out on those as well. So that's it for the entire main deck, extra deck, side deck, you name it. This is giving you everything you could possibly need for an update of this version. I really do like this version, like I've mentioned before. Of all the decks from Justice Hunters, I like Dracotail the most, and Regenesis is just a really fun deck. And the fact that I found out, or like when I saw a couple of videos online, I was like, whoa, they synergize with Dracotails really nicely. I was like, this is kind of like a no-brainer. Like, surely I have to play this hybrid. I still haven't determined which is my favourite hybrid of Dracotails. Like, I'm quite partial to the Magistus one right now. And even then, like, it's more so the fact that Cartesia's involvement. Like, I like how the involvement of Cartesia is really, really useful. So I'm still testing around with that. And then it really kind of adapts to the environment. I do like the idea of the Dragonmaid version as well, but I'm leaving Rob to kind of rock and roll with that one, as he knows the Dragonmaids more than me. But I do like what the Dragontails can add, the Dragonmaids can add, because I like the fact that they can present them with that Omni capability, with like Shoe and House and Disruptions and everything else in between. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.